You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
First of all, we're going to be joined with Ray and Ray. It's always good to see you here at BRFM.
Yeah, thank you. It's lovely to be back again with you. Well, tonight I'm going to throw to your listeners something about the history of the club, because the history of the Sheerness County Youth Club is quite fascinating. I haven't got exact dates, but sometime in the 30s, the Sheerness County Youth Club started in two semi-detached houses. The best way to describe it is just past Shrimp's Terrace. People know the orange building along the Broadway, then coming on to Marine Parade. And the Education Committee then, Kent County Council Education Committee, set up a youth club there in two houses. Obviously, they must have been knocked through to make one house. And that was quite a successful club. In fact, I had one lady that's just recently made a donation to the club, very generous donation actually, of £200. And she wrote in a letter to me and explained that she was a member of that club. So there are people around that have been members of the County Youth Club in the past. And where one of their famous cuts of budget, and they decided to brick up one house and sell it. Well, I suppose people would know what comes next if you try and move people into a house that's right next door to a youth club, and particularly with only thin walls. It wasn't long before the neighbours complained, and Kent County Council had to sell the youth club and move it. And it moved it to a mission hut left over by the Air Force after the war, and that was down the Kersal car park, which was near the fairground. I suppose the best place to describe it is where McDonald's sits today. Quite a nice place, I understand, but not really what young people wanted. And that was down there in the 50s. And I do know there are people on the island that actually went to that club. In fact, one of my relatives said that she was a member of that club. Jeff Andrews ran the club, and they had a very strong management committee that used to manage the club for KCC. And they went to Kent County Council and apparently had quite a fight on their hands and said, could they buy a Bourne Methodist church that had been made redundant? Now, this church was on the corner of Merrick Road. It was a tin chapel. The Methodists knocked the tin chapel down, and the congregation moved down to what is now the community church opposite the post office. And they built this brand new church, but unfortunately the congregation rather liked the church down the road, so it never really filled the new church. And I don't exactly know when, but at some point they decided to close the church and board it up. So this committee from the KCC club went to KCC and said, come on, buy this club for us for a youth club. And they had quite a fight on their hands, but they finally convinced KCC to do it. And in 1960, the Sheerness County Youth Club, as we know now, at the corner of Merrick Road, the Broadway, was opened.
We've been talking a little bit about the history of the centre. Are you going to carry on where you left off?
Yes, well, we got right up to the end of the 50s when the Kent County Council bought the building. That's the Bourne Methodist Church on the corner of Merrick Road, and revamped the inside. And then in 1960, in June 1960, it was opened as the new Sheerness County Youth Club. I wasn't actually there at the time, but I was told that, you know, it was very, very packed. A lot of young people went there because it was something completely new, and it was the first time they had almost a purpose-built building, not quite because it was converted, but it was done up very nicely by Kent County Council. And I actually joined there in 1961. I used to go to the Co-op Youth Club for a while, and Mrs. Pinney used to run that, and then finally she said she couldn't do any more, and I had to look for another youth club. So I trotted along in 1961. At that time, Jeff Andrews was running it. I'm sure a lot of people remember Jeff. He was very stressed out by the enormous amount of young people going there. Very few staff he had, and I started to lend him a hand, and he got me on a youth course straight away, and really he got me into youth work. Finally, Jeff did give up due to a lot of stress there and went back to his job. And I was then working with other people there. I was leader in charge, and eventually I moved up, went and qualified as a youth worker, and then become the full-time youth worker at the centre. Now, I think it's probably the fact that it's true to say that most youth workers don't stay in one place very long. They move from one youth centre to another, usually part of the promotion thing. And I was unusual because I actually stayed in one place. And it's probably because of that the youth centre has developed far greater than most youth centres. In fact, I'm sure that when KCC bought the building, they never thought it would become their flagship centre, and that's what they've called it. It is one of the outstanding youth centres in Kent. And it took a long time. I mean, we're talking about 50-odd years, 52 years. So I'm not saying we've done anything overnight, but gradually we converted the inside, we created more activities. One of the problems we had in the early days was the young people got bored in there because there was only about 3 or 4 activities they could do, and only about 8 people at any one time could play games on pool, whatever. It was billiards then, I think, and table tennis. But now we've got 2 table tennis tables, 2 pool tables, internal radio station, we've got a television studio, dance studio, the stage, of course, a good disco, now the longest running disco in Kent for under 18s, and a really nice cafe they've got there, which they got a lot of hot drinks and food they can buy, with a nice lounge area, television. So they've got everything they want, and it's been a tremendously successful centre. And in fact, only 2 years ago we had our 50th anniversary, and we had the highest turnout of the directors from Kent County Council youth and community side they've ever seen in one event. And Mike Hill there unveiled a plaque saying that it had been there for 50 years, and he said himself that not only was he thought it was the best youth centre in Kent, but probably one of the best in the country, and it would be their ambition to see every club in Kent like that. Unfortunately, due to financial restraints, that wasn't to be. Then 2 years later, KCC announced that they've got to close 19 youth centres, one of them being the Sheerness County Youth Club, to save money, and that they could commission some money out to make some other provision. Well, we didn't get the commissioning money because the money we asked for was too much, and so in December last year we closed down under KCC, but the 1st of January we reopened again under Sheerness Youth, the charity. I've got a very good charity group of trustees. I've got people like Daphne Mannering, Maureen Holloway, who are ex-members of members of staff of the club, a lot of young people will know, and a very good team of trustees, and they're taking it forward with me. So that's where we are now. We are quite successful. We've managed to open most nights a week, but not every night. But of course now we're looking for money because we get no money at all from Kent County Council, and we don't pay wages anymore. I suppose really all my staff have been brilliant. They've all said, OK, we'll come along and do it for nothing. But what's most incredible is Judy Moore, my cleaner, offered to come along and do the cleaning for nothing. And I think that is really dedication. Because cleaning a building is not exactly the most dynamic thing to do, and to offer to do that for nothing, I'm really proud of her, and we're all very grateful to her. And my staff team are working away, and everything's going quite well.
Ray, what are your plans for the future?
Well, to put it in a nutshell, the plan is to buy the building so that we become a completely independent youth centre. We've kept the name. People might be a bit surprised that we've left the name county in the title, and that was a request of a lot of our old members that always know it as the county. And funny enough, although KCC did at one time have 24, 28 clubs around Kent, none of them used the word county. They all had different names, so we was the only one called the Sheerness, well obviously called Sheerness, but Sheerness County Youth Club. So we're calling it the Sheerness County Youth Centre. Whether eventually we will change that name, I don't know, but at the moment we're keeping that. Now what we're planning to do, we've got the trustees, which is Sheerness Youth, and we're planning to buy the building off of Kent County Council. They are aware of that. If we are successful in raising the money and buying it, then we will be able to take it forward. The main aim really is to make sure that we secure this centre for future generations. It's served the young people of Sheppey for over 52 years now, and that is thousands of young people, and it's really made its name through a lot of developments that have been used in the Kent Youth Service. There's quite a few ideas have been taken around the county and used from the work we've done, and we're in a very strong position in terms of delivering good quality youth work for the island. If it was to go, of course, it would be a great blow for the island. We've got down the road, we support a lot of organisations. We support Dan Pike, and he's got his Restoration Youth, which is a training programme. It's not a youth club. It deals with training young people, and it's about changing the mindsets of the negativity that exists on the island to give young people the confidence to say that they can do well on Sheppey in terms of work and their activities. So we support what Dan does, the same as we support all the youth groups on the Isle of Sheppey. But our particular job at the moment is to make sure that we secure the Sheerness County Youth Centre for future generations. And that will be our task now. And the first stage, of course, of that is actually purchasing the building off of Kent County Council, which will probably happen round about next year sometime. Now, the interesting thing is that I tend not to get too involved in politics, because in 1945, the Albemarle report came out, which said that local authorities should provide adequate provision for young people. And interesting enough, the day before the report was put before the Parliament for a vote, a young man got stabbed in London, and it hit the newspapers and shocked the nation. And when they went to vote, the youth service got all party support in the House of Commons for a youth service to be set up throughout this country in different local authorities. So I still work on that basis, that I expect all parties to support us, and I try and avoid to be too critical, although I have my views about the way that some of the parties are acting towards the youth service, but try to gain the support of all of them. And there are politicians out there of all colours and all parties that are lending their support at the moment to keeping the Sheerness County Youth Centre going.
Ray, what are the age ranges that you cater for?
Well, we used to have a girls and a boys club, which we can't run at the moment, and they were 11 and 12-year-olds, and then the main club was 13 to 19. So what we've done, we've actually come down one age, and we're now running the club 12 to 19. We can't really cater for 11-year-olds at the moment, until such time we may be able to reopen our girls and boys clubs. But we've come down one age on that. And what we're doing basically, we're setting up 6 teams of the staff. We're forming them into teams. One's creative arts team, which is going to be arts and crafts and design. We've got a performing arts team, which covers the dance and stage mime. We've got a media team, which does our own little radio station, which people know as Radio Coastline. It's an internal radio station. And also television and video productions. We're just lucky enough to get a grant through to buy a new camera. The sad story about television, we were very well in television and video production, studio and everything, but then the digital age come along, and we've had to renew all our equipment, so it's going to be a long task. But we're starting with a digital camera, which will be arriving in about a couple of weeks' time, and so we will start television productions again. Very exciting activity. We've obviously got our 4 computers for young people, and then we've got our sports and recreation team, which do table tennis, pool and darts, and they do ratings and some five-a-side football. We've got our TARDIS team, which operates on a Friday night because, as I said before, we've got the longest running disco in Kent, and we now operate every other Friday, again because of shortage of staff, and that is extremely popular, the TARDIS disco. And then we've got a team of cafe and reception team, which covers our cafe and reception on the door. We're hoping to recruit some volunteers for that particularly. We're looking for volunteers to do youth work, but people who don't feel confident to do youth work and prepared to come along and help. We're always glad to have people to help behind the cafe, serving young people, making teas and coffees. So that's the team we're going to set up for the future, and hopefully we'll be able to cater for all the needs of young people, because the one thing we like to do is to give variety. You know, not all young people like sport, not all young people like the arts. So give them a mixture, and usually we can cater for all types of young people coming into the centre.
Ray, has the times been affected by the changes?
Well, yes. I mean, we had to be realistic. A staff team were paid on the 30th of December, and on the 1st of January they get nothing. They've been very good. They've come back and volunteer services, but we can't open quite so much. Lucky enough, we've only closed the girls and boys clubs, which are sad, and the Monday night. So we're open Tuesdays and Wednesdays every week from 6:30 till 9. And the TARDIS disco, instead of it being weekly, it's fortnightly. Young people would like it weekly, and maybe one day we'll go back and doing that. But what we've done, you see, we've had to downsize to be safe. We've got to be realistic. We don't want to run out of money at this stage, so we are providing, I think, still a very good service, and we're hitting the main important targets, which is the young people, which is 13 to 16 is the most crucial target of young people you need to provide for. We're doing that, and they've only lost one night out of that, which is pretty good considering we lost all our funding. We don't charge a lot. Young people pay 50 pence a night to come in, and if they come on disco night, which is Friday, they pay £1, and that just helps towards the club funds. It certainly wouldn't run the club, but it certainly helps towards buying things that young people need in the centre, because there's wear and tear on table tennis bats and what have you. We're very lucky. We just got another grant for another table tennis table, so we'll now have 2 new table tennis tables, and we'll be selling our old ones. And so we are still continuing to upgrade all the equipment we've got, and make sure the young people get a good service.
Ray, what are your plans for fundraising?
Well, as far as buying the youth club's concerned, youth centre, we wouldn't expect the people of Sheppey to find that money for us. We are talking in small terms of money compared with some buildings. It's not going to cost a lot, but too much, I think, to ask local people to raise, considering there are other very good charities around. We are asking local people if they will support us in the running costs of the building, and if anybody would like to make a donation, we'd be most grateful for that. That can be sent to the Sheerness County Youth Club. And we are looking for volunteers, people that may volunteer their expertise, whether it be solicitors or anything that can help us to buy the building, right down to people doing administration, people who can do computer programs or whatever, and people that are prepared to help in terms of running the canteen. So all sorts of services, we're looking for volunteers, but we are looking for donations. I'd like to think that Richard Branson's listening tonight, but I guess he won't be. He's probably on his island somewhere. We're looking for somebody, obviously, or some lottery money to buy the building, but the ongoing running costs will have to come from local donations. Fortunate enough, we can run quite slender, so we're not asking large amounts at the moment. We're being very careful with what we do, but I'll be very grateful. I will just give my email address out, or the email address for Sheerness Youth, and it's all lowercase, and it's sheerness@live.co.uk. That's Sheerness Youth at live.co.uk. If anybody feels that they can help, offer their services or any donations, let me know, or just post it through the letterbox of the Sheerness County Youth Centre, and that is the Broadway, Sheerness, ME12 1TP. And if you're interested in volunteering, of course, we will be very keen to hear from you. And thank you for letting us come on the show tonight. And I'm hoping that by the end of the year, or maybe next year, I can come back and tell everybody that we've managed to buy the building, and that the youth centre will be secure for young people for the next 50 years.
Well, Ray, we'd love to have you back. And as always, it's good to have you here at BRFM. Thank you very much for coming along this evening.
Thank you.